You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Imaging Services, ChiroThin, Universal Tractioning Systems, Zingit Solutions, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Everest Coaching Systems, True Chiro, the Social Health Experts Summit, Chiropractic Jobs Online, Rhino Coaching, Chiro Matchmakers, and Chiro Moguls. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 85 of Chiro Hustle. I'm your co-host Luke Millette. Here's your host, Jim Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Nona Djavid. And if you guys want to know about being a mamapractor and a mamapreneur, stay tuned. What is your chiropractic story and what influenced you to become a chiropractor?
You know what, I hear, of course we hear that question all the time, right? But my story is sort of different. Like most of the chiropractors that I know, they've gotten into some kind of an injury or something happened. You could say I was sort of called in to become a chiropractor. I was at the time going to Berkeley and I was looking into what to do next, and my parents, they both have a medical background, so they were like, well, you should be a doctor, you should be a dentist. And I looked into it. I even took the DAT and got accepted to NYU, but then last minute I met a chiropractor, or I knew a chiropractor, and then he sort of was like, here's what chiropractic is, and then one thing led to another, and I'm reading the pamphlet for the school, and I was like, this kind of made sense. And by the time I entered chiropractic school, I had probably been adjusted one time at a party by this chiropractor. But it was just something that made sense to me once I read about the philosophy, and especially with my background of coming from a family that has more of a holistic approach to everything that we did. I mean, of course, I didn't have any exposure to chiropractic, but everything else that we did, like the body heals the body, those philosophies were kind of instilled in us even as a kid. So it just made sense.
So what are some things that make you unique in the chiropractic world? What are some things you might be doing that other doctors aren't doing?
I don't know that it's the things that I'm thinking of. I don't know that they are 100% unique to me. I know that there are a lot of successful chiropractors out there, but from the moment I started practice, I knew, of course, I wanted to have a family. I knew I didn't want to work myself to death. And so I wanted to create a part-time practice. But I also had seen a lot of female chiropractors who had a part-time practice, and they were just kind of running a business that wasn't really a business. It was kind of like a side project. I'll do this a little bit. I'll take care of my kids. I'll do that. But I knew I wanted a sort of smooth running machine. I wanted to be cash. I wanted to, again, work part-time. So from day one, I created a practice that would allow me to work, say, 20 hours a week. I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to be cash. Of course, I went into the insurance thing at the beginning and then decided for the first couple of years in practice, and then switched over to cash. And then, and I was, for 10 years, been super successful at it and was able to hit all my goals. And, I had my son, I'm expecting another one. So to create a practice that is aligned with the life that I wanted to live. I think a lot of, especially female chiropractors, but just chiropractors in general, struggle with that. And I feel like I really emphasized on that from the beginning.
Yeah, and I know as we were pre-interview chatting, you were mentioning that you have some other interests, and one of those is to deal with informed consent and, topics of, keeping people safe and making sure people are making good decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really had no intentions of getting into that, but my son, who's now 3.5, was breech. And so, of course, as chiropractors, we do, I was under chiropractic care, acupuncture, I did everything. And if I wasn't a chiropractor and if I didn't plan a home birth, and I mean, even home birth in California, midwives can't deliver breech babies, but if I didn't have the conviction that I have in my own body, the confidence that I had in my own body, they would have forced me to have a C-section without even giving me an informed consent about the fact that there is another option. They just, at this hospital, we banned a vaginal birth for a breech baby. So that kind of started my search into what is it that all these other moms, pregnant moms, are going to go through. And I taught a CE course at Life West about it and just kind of developed from there. And I'm preparing a TED Talk on, and I'm putting a twist into it because it's a women's right issue. Guys can do a lot of things, but this is the one thing that it's our right, and we have to be fully educated to make those decisions, and oftentimes we're not, and I blame the Western medicine, of course, on that. So that's kind of, I became passionate in that. To me, it's a women's right issue. Like I was telling you, I grew up in a third world country, so over there, my vote counts as 1 and yours counts as 2. So in the United States, of course, we shouldn't be talking about women's right when it comes down to giving birth. Like, I should have the right to choose what kind of birth I want to give, and I should have the right to full, true, informed consent. So that's what I became really passionate about talking.
Yeah, it's super important. I think we've just discovered the podcast you should launch. But yeah, being a chiropractor and being a mom, how have you been able to balance that lifestyle out?
It's definitely hard, no matter how much you can balance. And like I said, I was really, really lucky. I was in practice for 7 years before I had my son. And I didn't really know what it was like to be a mom and be in practice. But I knew that I wanted a life for sure outside of practice. So I created something that I could be a mom or accomplish other things, have other businesses, travel, go on vacation and whatnot, and still be super successful. But I think one of the things that helped kind of gave me clarity on this whole thing of being a mom and balancing everything was like, at first I looked at it like I'm doing everything and I'm not doing everything perfectly. But then after a while I was like, wait a second, it's not that I'm not doing everything perfectly. I am. I just look at it like I'm a mom. If you have, someone gave me this visual. They're like, there's all these cards on the floor, and one is like being a mom. The other one is being an entrepreneur. This other one is being the business owner of this chiropractic center, and this other one is being a business owner of this other business. And you pick it up, and you pick each of them separately, and you look at it, you give it your full attention, and then you put it away. And then you pick another card up, and you just kind of give your full attention to that, and you do the best you can with that business, and then you put that card away. So even though you're kind of dealing with so many different things, you're actually, you can do it, the point being, and you can do it perfectly, or as perfectly as you like. As much work you put into it is, the results are going to show in that area.
So do you have any favorite motivational quotes or words of wisdom you live your life by?
You know what? That's a good question. It's more of a concept, I think, than a quote or anything. Or maybe I just can't think of a quote. But the concept that drives me is that life is short and that I don't want to have regrets. So if I get up today and I don't do what I'm supposed to do or what I'm meant to do or to do whatever I'm supposed to do at my best potential, then I wasted that day. So it's this whole concept of like running my life trying not to regret things that I haven't done or I haven't done perfectly.
Yeah, that kind of reflects to one of my favorite quotes. I've lived by this for about 8 years now. It's what I do today is important because I'm exchanging a day of my life for it.
Yes, exactly.
And really one of the things I've learned is that like time is our finite thing. Like when you like think of you think of me, you think of Luke. One thing that is common amongst all three of us is we have 24 hours in a day.
Mm-hmm.
And, some of us feel like we can accomplish more or, become a top level entrepreneur, or we can see more people in a day with being a chiropractor. But I think that that's the one thing that we all should really focus on is that valuation of the days that we get and the time that's allowed to us. I think it's really important, especially for chiropractors that are listening to this, to know that there is a finite amount of time. And like you mentioned earlier, you want to do things better. You want to do things not just, simply going through the motions, but you want to have, more quality of life associated with the time that you spend doing what you do.
That's exactly right. It's really the only thing that is limited. And if you think about money, there's an abundance of money. You can work hard and you can make money. If you think about business, you think about health. A lot of those things, for the most part, you can accomplish. Either you can prevent sickness from happening or you can work on your health. But with time, that's it. Like you said, you only have 24 hours.
Yeah, and I think that as I've listened to more influencers and I've listened to, interview after interview that we've done for Chiro Hustle, what I've realized is the top level producing people realize how valuable their time is, and they learn how to manage it more wisely, and they learn how to, compartmentalize their time space in order to be more productive where they feel like they're actually in that flow state. And some people get it, late at night, there's that artist brain that turns on late at night. Some people get it, 5:30 in the morning. And some people that get it at that late night phase, they would never dream of doing it at 5:30 in the morning. But I think a lot of it goes down to, the characteristic of the person and how they value their time and when they feel most productive.
Yes. And you know what? You're absolutely right. The more successful as an entrepreneur that you are, the more you value your time and the more you delegate so that you have more time, and the more you time block for things that, like I know somebody who time blocks for thinking. He sets aside an hour and just thinks and looks for inspiration. That's it.
Yeah, the more that we get dialed into it, even talking on a chiropractic perspective is, running an office. Mm-hmm. Knowing when you can see patients and when you can have meetings with your staff and when you can schedule appointments outside the office and when you can schedule workouts and, even goes all the way down to understanding when you can schedule date nights with you and your loved one. It's like there's so much to be determined on how we build our schedules out and what we actually give out to people for, actually what you guys have done is a degree that you've earned. And what do you do once you earn a degree that allows you to be a doctor? Well, I would recommend everybody to figure out how to manage their time properly to where it's not burnout mode or it's not I'm going to fail mode, but I'm going to succeed mode and I have energy to do this.
That's exactly right, yeah.
So as we transition to the interview a little bit on a different topic, I know I want to go back to your roots as a chiropractor. I know you've been out for over a decade now, but what would we be able to accomplish if more people knew about chiropractic?
Oh man, that's a big one. Gosh, like I can see the world. Let me back up a little bit. In the last year in practice, I focused heavily on kids with autism.
Wow.
And we had a lot of kids on the spectrum who would come in and would get amazing results. And the tiniest bit of change in their lives was so transformative. Not just for them. Some of them, they have no idea that this change is even happening. It's more so for the parents and the families and the siblings. So when you think about the ripple effect of all of that, I mean, like this kid who would come in who'd only sleep for 2 hours a night and had to be on medication, you know, and all of that, and now all of a sudden is sleeping for 4 hours, and what that looks like for the parents, what that looks like for the siblings, for that entire family, and then the ripple effect into the world, right? I mean, even if all the kids, when you ask me that question, I think what if the kids that were on the spectrum, or every baby that was born, not even forget the whole world, right? In 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years, had access to chiropractic care, and it was just a common thing that we did. I mean, we would live in an ideal world, wouldn't we?
Well, yeah, you know, I've always thought it was really honorable when people do get their newborns checked and adjusted if necessary. I've always thought that that's super honorable. And when you talk about some type of developmental, conditions, I think that it's even more important. And we all know, like, you know, over time, if we're not taking care of our kids and they're not, you know, living a good, you know, quality of life, it does start to pull at the moral fabric of the family unit. And having healthier kids makes a healthier family as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the ripple effects into the society, into the community, into the country, into the world, into humanity.
And it does go deep, but we really have to focus on quality of life at that point when it comes to people being under chiropractic care. And that's really where chiropractor's been standing firm for so many years. And now it's almost like a necessity. Oh, we have to pay attention to that chiropractic lifestyle stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly right.
And it's been the hand of offering for so many years. And now it's like, oh, I better pay attention to what those chiropractors are doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And as we see the house of cards starting to fall when it comes to the medical model that most people get, you know, pushed into because that's the only thing available to them, they don't realize how important the chiropractic lifestyle, just, you know, eating right and staying fit and exercising and having good thoughts. And, you know, the other pillar is getting adjusted. And I think that if more people, like you said, start with the adjustment, all else follows, and people's lives all around the whole conversation start improving.
Yeah, and I think the shift is happening. I'm really hopeful, and I see it. I think, like you said, just even if you think about just eating healthy, how much more conscious people are today than they were 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Imaging Services, Chiro Thin, Universal Tractioning Systems, Zingit Solutions, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Everest Coaching Systems, True Chiro, the Social Health Experts Summit, Chiropractic Jobs Online, Rhino Coaching, Chiro Matchmakers, and Chiro Moguls. Let's hustle.
So where do you see the chiropractic profession heading in the next 20 years?
Yeah, I think I see really great things for chiropractors and for chiropractic, but I also happen to be an optimist. I don't know what other people would say, but I got, you know, like I said, even generally eating healthy. I mean, how much there's like the paleo, the keto, the this and that is now general public that used to be, just a select group of people had knowledge about. So I think that chiropractic and all kinds of alternative medicine and just really taking care of your body from inside out, which is the chiropractic philosophy, is more relevant today than it has been. So I could say that it's only going to get better. Of course, we have problems in our profession, and there are things we need to work on to get there faster. But I am very optimistic about it.
You know, I really appreciate you saying that. And this is one of the things I love about what we're able to do with our chiropractic conversations that we get, is that, you know, it is so powerful. And chiropractic is something that, touches so many people's lives on so many different levels. And the future looks really, it's very promising to me, knowing that we do have a solution to people. And like you said, the eating right concept, that used to be for a select group of people, but now people eating better food becomes more mainstream, and people start practicing more healthy habits. And I think as we start looking long term, that the more healthy habits practiced, the more people will start investigating the power of chiropractic.
Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm.
So as we transition a little bit further into the interview with you, I know that something else that makes you unique in the chiropractic world is you've had some trainings and you've done some work with Tony Robbins.
Yeah, I was introduced to his work. I mean, I've been reading his books and stuff for probably over 15 years, but I took my first, not seminar, I guess, one of his events. I went to one of his events about 10 years ago, and I was hooked ever since then. So a lot of the concepts that I've learned, I mean, not just from Tony Robbins, but from a lot of different thought leaders and influencers. But he has really been a big influence. And this year I signed up to kind of basically travel the world with him and learn even more, which I'm really excited about. But I bring in all those, I have brought in all those concepts into my practice and the way I do my daily rituals and really everything else, entrepreneurship. I've learned so much from him and the people that I have met in those groups about being a good business person as well. And I bring all of that I have in the past into my practice, but then also I pass it on to the chiropractors that I work with as well.
Yeah, I think it's so massive when we have good leadership from above. And, we're all learning from someone else. And, we can teach ourselves so much, but when you have direct contact with, those one percenters out there, that's super impactful in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the power of influence. If, people that you surround yourself with, you got to evaluate who are the 10 people in your life that you hang out with the most or spend most time with, and they better be more successful than you are. Otherwise, you're in trouble.
Well, I also think to myself so many times, do I spend time with 10 people?
That's a whole nother story.
But that brings a little humor back to the topics of what we're discussing, because people, the health industry, and making good decisions and valuing our time and having good influence are massively important to the outcomes for an individual. So we're going to transition the conversation a little bit now more towards marketing. I know that that's one of the key things that all chiropractors are interested in. So if we could talk about your own kind of marketing, what strategies that do you do? And do you prefer, modern marketing or traditional style marketing? What do you prefer most?
You know what? I really think that it depends on where you are in practice. I have chiropractors that I work with that are just out of school, or they're a few years in, or they're just getting back into a practice, and they don't have the funds to do the pay-per-clicks and the this and the that of the marketing world. Ideally, you're doing everything, and perhaps with more of an emphasis into what you call modern marketing, which I'm assuming you're talking about, say, social media, pay-per-click, Google, stuff that's free, Facebook Lives and such. But then also traditional, I never really was a big fan of paper advertisement, but then also in some areas that works. In my practice, we did a lot of workshops, so internal workshops. And that was another thing I really was a big fan of, because I didn't really want to leave my practice to grow the practice. I disliked, and I'm using that word carefully, doing health fairs. I just didn't like being out there and talking to people that way, and I wanted people to come to me and seek me out So the workshops were one way to do it, creating a community and building relationships with yoga studios, with gyms in the area and whatnot, doing corporate talks. Those I guess you would consider traditional marketing. I think ideally you would do all and everything. I look at it like a big funnel, and you're putting in all this effort at the top, and you have, this narrow bottom that's kind of feeding your practice. And as soon as you stop or you start to mess around or you're not giving it your full attention and energy, of course, then you're not going to get as much down at the bottom. But again, I do think that it really depends on where the person is, their location, but also where they are in practice and how much money they can put towards those types of things.
So what would you say is your favorite social media platform?
I would say for marketing purposes, Facebook.
Yeah, I think that you're so right. And one of the questions I like to ask people off topic, and I'll ask you just to see where you're at with this, but what would you say is the most impactful thing to happen in chiropractic in the past 10 years?
I think the use of having the ability to use social media.
Yeah, you're right on base. That's what I hear from a lot of the people in the industry is they're like, wow, the connectivity that we get with this platform is like nothing else. Mm-hmm. And I think whether you're building your professional network, massive. Whether you're staying in touch with friends and family, hyper important. There's a usage of staying in connectivity with people, practice members, as the office. There's so many levels of what social media has done for us. It allows us to connect at distance, and it allows us to get to know people without actually, even having a conversation with them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And most of which is available to us at free, at no cost.
Yeah, and as you learn how to become, proficient with the different media platforms like Facebook, as you said that you like, you become proficient, and then you figure out how to use it properly. And I think that that's the big thing is people are still trying to make sense of how to use these platforms properly because they change so fast too.
That's right. And I think two things that stops people from using Facebook, just using it to get started to use it. One is that they think their message needs to be perfect. I think that I need to look good and I need to be at my office or I need to do this or that. And that's absolutely not true. I was just talking to somebody today and we were talking about how you should really start using Facebook, whether it's Facebook Lives or videos or YouTube, any of the social media outlets, to find your message, to fine-tune your message. And down the road, you'll get to a point where you know where you stand, or even just documenting what it is that you're doing on day-to-day basis, whether it's on Facebook Live or YouTube or wherever the case may be. And the other thing is lack of consistency. We'll do one and then I'll do one next week, or it needs to be definitely something that is more consistent if we're going to have an impact on the general public with our chiropractic message.
Yeah, what I've realized, Nona, is that there has to be a strategy and a system around how you communicate with people. And I think that people are really interested in the story, and people will definitely pay more attention if you have a story that they can follow, because they might not seen your past 5 posts, but maybe they'll see that one post and they'll go back and they'll see that you're actually creating a story brand for them. And I think that that's one of the powerful things that people can appreciate about consistency on social media, especially Facebook, is that you can follow somebody and you can begin that know, like, and trust from a distance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So what kind of things do you like to do when you're not working? Are you in the middle of any books or podcasts, or what are your hobbies?
Oh man, right now I'm heavily focused on this TED Talk on women's right, informed consent, and birth. So that's consuming me, which I love it. But I'm also reading this book by Russell Brunson on expert secrets. Have you guys read the book?
I have.
It's pretty amazing. I'm just beginning to read it, but
Yeah,
really I don't have a hobby is what I'm saying.
Studying's your hobby, come on.
Yeah, studying, I mean, like, just being a mom is a full-time job. But yeah, the book I'm just starting to I read a lot, I listen a lot to audios and things, but I would say my hobby is this talk and the research that I'm doing on informed consent.
So, do you prefer to actually read or listen to books?
You know what? It depends on the book, but I use, I do net time, so it's like no extra time. Like if I'm walking, if I'm at the gym, if I am in the car, I am always listening to something that's going to help me move forward. But if I'm at home, and if I have a minute before going to sleep or whatever the case, then I like actually reading. So whichever one fits my situation better, then I'll pick that one. But also some books you really can't listen to. You have to read, take notes,
Yeah, everything's kind of different that way. So, what are some websites and social media links where people can find out more about you and what you're doing?
They can go to my website, which is nonadjavid.com, and I'll spell it because we were just talking about the silent D in my last name. But my first name is Nona, Nona, and my last name is D as in David, Javid, and those put together .com is my website. Or they can connect with me on Facebook if they just type my name. I'm probably going to pop up.
Yeah, and I know that we're coming up on the edge of our time with each other today, but I wanted to ask you another question, or maybe we have two more for you. What is a piece of advice that you would give to any other chiropractic entrepreneurs?
I would say valuing themselves as a chiropractor and really having conviction in what it is that they do. Like the knowing deep within that chiropractic is the thing that's going to give their patients the solution to this to a problem, right? Like they are subluxated, and these subluxations, perhaps not today, but accumulatively is going to lead to disease and eventually a slow death, if you would. And I think having conviction in that, and I don't know why so many of us struggle with that, including myself. I did at the beginning of my career, but I think finding that conviction somewhere inside of you or creating it before you start to communicate with patients is really powerful.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. Whenever I think about, chiropractic, you guys are really like the essence of a small business entrepreneurial mindset. So I think, the things that we discussed with you today, certainty, vision, path, so many things that we discussed, being a mom. I think that when we think about it, you guys are small business owners, and you guys do have the heart of the entrepreneur before the word entrepreneur became en vogue. And I think as we go through time, we're going to realize that the chiropractor is a very important person to their communities. And that's why I think that Chiro Hustle has started to grow by leaps and bounds, is because chiropractors are the true healers. And I think that a lot of people that listen to what we're doing, they're getting influence from a distance from your voice now. And they're able to listen to other influential chiropractors and hear their voice as well. And if we just keep on creating more media supporting the beautiful profession of chiropractic, more people will realize that the chiropractic is a bootstrap profession, but if you do it well, you can help a lot of people and you can have a great quality of life, just like most chiropractors are able to achieve.
Yeah, you're spot on with that.
And at this point in the interview, we always ask you, is there anything that we didn't ask you that you'd like to share with our audience today?
No, I think we covered it all. Yeah, and I appreciate you having me and also appreciate everything that you are doing. It's hard work. I saw you at, I was speaking at, I was going to say CalJam, but it wasn't CalJam. It was Chiro Sushi. I spoke there last year, and I saw you put in the work and the interviews and everything else that you were doing. It's a lot of hard work, and I think most people don't realize that. So I appreciate you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And there's nothing like flexing your hustle muscle. And I think that a lot of times people that come into opportunities like what we've been able to accomplish is you just got to keep showing up. And like with social media presence, the one that wins is the most consistent. And I think that that's what we've done with media in our angle within the profession. So thank you for recognizing that we were working hard at Chiro Sushi.
Perfect, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks again for being our guest today. We had fun, and we just want you to enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, you guys as well.
All right, let's connect soon, okay?
All right, will do. Thank you.
Right,
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.